Enough about the money, but the money makes a difference. Long as the money don't make you different, word of Drizzy. Never take a shortcut, this is long term. Watch them get.
What is going on, everyone? Thank you so much for tuning in. My name is Sam Castle, and with me I have my co-host, Jack. Jack, how are you doing today?
Doing good, buddy. Episode 1.
Episode 1. If you guys have not noticed and have not seen the announcement, we have officially changed the A Podcast. It is no longer going to be called the A Podcast. We are now called the podcast that Sam and Jack built. Pretty much how this came to be. Pretty much I just asked Jack one day, I was like, yo, Jack, since we pretty much have already done like, I don't know, like, what was it, like 3 episodes or something like that. We're still sitting on 2. We've already done like 3 episodes and we just have good energy and everything like that. I was like, you want to be a co-host? And then Jack was like, for sure. And then that just happened. And I think this has been really fun, actually, planning everything that we've been doing. Even before this episode started, we were already planning all of our content that we're going to be doing for like the next, I don't know how long, for the next year or something like that. But essentially, yeah, that's pretty much all that this is going to be. It's still the same podcast. It's still going to be the A Podcast. It just has a different name. And now Jack is my co-host. And this has been something that I've been really wanting for quite a while now, having somebody to bounce ideas off. The reason why we haven't had a podcast come out in I don't know how many months or so is just because content gets a little bit, kind of too boring when it's just one person. And, it's fun to have somebody to talk to and like bounce their opinions off of and everything like that, which is the reason why I've been wanting to co-host for a while. So now that I have Jack is just as excited as I am to be able to get into this and be able to start, putting out some stuff, things that, talking about things that we love and just doing all this stuff. Jack, how has it been for you?
It's been dope, and I think the big thing that we've been kind of like realizing is all the nerd shit that we talk about constantly, like all the stuff that's coming out. Like we're just like always like DM like, dude, oh, did you see that? Like, whoa, did you see that?
Oh my god,
whoa, oh my god, like, oh, that trailer, and like, so we're just like, why don't we just like make this a podcast? And we both like love like talking about and discussing stuff. For me, especially with Spider-Man just coming out, is something we definitely want to discuss. All the stuff that's going to be coming out that Marvel and DC have cooked up, Star Wars, and then other little sprinkled things, all these movies that we like to watch and stuff like that, and all these shows that come out, just kind of going over like stuff with that. So I think I'm really excited, especially to kind of like share a bunch of stuff and especially like especially like a Spider-Man. Like we've been waiting a week for the Spider-Man episode, and partly because we haven't really wanted to spoil like anything for anybody. Still gonna put the spoiler alerts though, but like it's been like a week now, so most people, for the most part, hopefully, if you're a sane person, have actually seen the movie, so we can actually get into it. But no, I'm super excited, man. It's gonna be a fun year. We're gonna get into a lot of stuff. There's a lot of stuff coming out that we're both excited about. So yeah, I'm ready to do it.
Yeah, that was something that we were talking about even before this, like when we were planning out like all of our content, what we wanted to talk about. We were just like, hey, do you like this? Oh my God, yeah, I like that. And it's like, oh my God, I didn't know you liked that. Now we can talk about that. And it's just hilarious. And, pretty much you already kind of introduced what exactly we're going to be talking about today. We are going to be talking about Spider-Man No Way Home. And like Jack said, if you haven't seen the movie, I think you're just doing a disservice to yourself if you haven't seen it. And as well,
you're not really living life if you haven't seen it.
And pretty
you're
much
doing the opposite.
I think you're pretty much an insane person, legally speaking. And essentially, I think the official rule of the internet when it comes to Marvel movies is that if it's already been a week, it's okay to talk about. So we are going to be spoiling No Way Home in its entirety, talking about every single thing. So if you have not seen it, check yourself into a mental hospital and don't watch this episode. But
don't listen to it. Don't watch it. Throw this away.
Yeah.
Honestly, don't watch our podcast at all if you haven't seen it, because that just means you don't like Spider-Man, which is crazy.
Hey, you know what we're gonna do? We're gonna intentionally spoil No Way Home in every single episode that we do after this, just to piss you off.
Yeah. That's what it just starts off. Hey, this is what happened.
Hey, like reminder, like, hey, you remember when that happened? Hey, how are you doing
just
today?
Put a little reminder on the bottom, like of the video.
Just a random fact,
a PSA, like just to remind you, this is what happened in Spider-Man No Way Home.
At the very bottom, it's just a reminder, and it's just like a random thing that happened in No Way Home, like
just a random like little like fact.
So once again, if you have not seen No Way Home, definitely click off of this video, go see it. If you want to come back and watch our spoiler review and everything like that, then come back, but don't do anything unless you have seen No Way Home. So, Jack, first of all,
let's get the obvious part. Let's just get the obvious stuff out of the way with Toby.
I was gonna say Aunt May dies.
Well, yeah, that's. I wasn't gonna go dark. Like,
no, I'll totally.
I was gonna ease into that. You went right for the jugular. No, Aunt May dead.
Aunt May is no longer living. She undeaded herself.
Yeah, she was basically Uncle Ben in this universe, which I thought was a really cool switch up, because in the past two Spider-Mans, with Amazing Spider-Man and then the original Sam Raimi Spider-Man with Tobey, we had Uncle Ben. And this new in the MCU Spider-Man, we actually never got even any like hint or mention of Uncle Ben, not from what I saw.
Not even when Tobey said like my Uncle Ben said that or anything like that. I would have thought like maybe Tom would have been like, oh man, maybe he got it from Uncle Ben or something like that, or something along those lines. But there wasn't any sort of hint or anything like that. But yeah, Aunt May got deleted from the world. Yeah.
She got. And
I
loved how they did all of that too, because it really and I want to give a shout out to like William Dafoe. That dude can act. That is like one of the greatest actors ever. Like, William Dafoe is a badass. Like, he is a legit, like, he is the Green Goblin. And what's cool is because people want him as the Joker for a really long time, how I would imagine. Green Goblin is essentially the Joker. And I think I tweeted out on my Twitter, I was like, William Dafoe is to Green Goblin what Heath Ledger was to Joker. Like, this performance, I think he stole the show personally in this movie. Like, it was one of the greatest performances I've ever seen. So big shout out. But yeah, he ends up killing Aunt May, which is awesome, because the Green Goblin is like probably, I mean, he is the Joker to Spider-Man essentially. He is what Joker is to Batman. He is Spider-Man's arch enemy, even dating back into the comics, literally just starting from Gwen Stacy's death and everything like that. He hits him the most, like, emotionally as a villain. Like, he's just sadistic, crazy, like. Yeah, and the thing is like, even in No Way Home, he reminded me of Heath Ledger's Joker, especially the part when Peter's just like wailing on him in the hallway and he just starts laughing like that. It was literally the interrogation scene from The Dark Knight, done again. And I was like, oh my God, like, he is so much more scarier, menacing, more evil in this film than he was in the first Spider-Man movie. And dude, like, William Dafoe, that's why he's such a badass. Like, he wanted to do like all his, there's like those reports he wanted to do all his own stunts and all of this. Dude, he absolutely nailed the show. And William Dafoe, I'm everything that he's in is just like, he's just a great actor. So I'm so happy they got him back. And like that was like one of the biggest, like, I think probably this movie was dark. Like, but Tom Holland said it was really, really dark, which was surprising for like an MCU movie, which are usually we think of lightheartedness and stuff like that with MCU. I mean, Infinity War was really kind of the only time they really kind of delved into that really dark side of the MCU. Yeah, Infinity War definitely was that. But I think, we're going to start kind of getting to that darker like side of the MCU, in this upcoming phase here. But yeah, No Way Home was a masterpiece. Definitely, for me, the best Spider-Man movie I've ever seen. Oh, and I love definitely on the same page. Yeah, and I know you're going to disagree with this, but the Spider-Verse was like before that. Spider-Verse and Spider-Man 2 were on my top 2 list, but No Way Home. We're not going to get into that right now, but look, I have a legitimate reason for putting Spider-Verse where I put it. Okay. Yeah, we're going to do something else on the Spider rankings, but yeah, no, but No Way Home, absolute masterpiece. I love how they switched it up with Aunt May, being, her dying, because I think that also every Spider-Man in every universe is different. So I think this really shows the uniqueness to this Spider-Man in this universe. And then Toby and Andrew have their own uniqueness in their universe. So I think this keeps everything kind of unique to those characters. So I love the fact how they did Aunt May, the fact they did Green Goblin, and honestly, like, I was talking about last night with a friend of mine. I'm cool if they never do Green Goblin again. Honestly, yeah, I don't think anybody can do a better job than William Dafoe. Everybody, all the actors were great. Like, everybody returning, Jamie Foxx, Alfred Molina, Sandman, but William Dafoe absolutely just killed this.
Even Alfred Molina, like he didn't become like an actual villain. Like he wasn't like he was still the same Doc Ock from Spider-Man 2, but
yeah, who's like a tweener. He wasn't really a bad guy. And I think Doc Ock is somebody they may be able to revisit, because I think Tom Holland's been a little cryptic on his Twitter on like what he's going to do. Like he sounds like he doesn't want to play Spider-Man anymore, but like I think we're at least going to get another trilogy with Spider-Man, with him as Spider-Man.
I think he's only kind of saying that mainly just because like he doesn't know what's gonna happen after this. Even though Kevin Feige and Amy Pascal have already said like, oh yeah, he's gonna get another trilogy. We're already starting development on the fourth Spider-Man movie and all that stuff.
Yeah.
But I think even he's all like, well, you know, anything can change at any second. Literally with what we saw between Far From Home and No Way Home, when that whole kind of like split between Marvel and Sony, and they were like, oh yes, Spider-Man's not going to be in the MCU anymore or anything like that, but then they struck up a new deal. So I think Tom is just kind of cautious at this point because he knows that, you know, things can happen at any point in time that will cost him his job. So that's why he's saying like, if I'm still playing Spider-Man to my 30s, you know, it'll be a mistake or something like that. I think he's just trying to like ease tension, so that way if there's an announcement saying like, oh, we're continuing Spider-Man but not with Tom Holland anymore, then people won't be like, oh, well, why, you know, or something like that. But I think even with I'm gonna say it right now, people are definitely gonna disagree with me on this, but Tom has been my favorite Spider-Man ever since he showed up in Civil War.
I can see that. Yeah.
Like ever since Queens popped up onto the screen in Civil War, and we saw the scene between him and Robert Downey Jr., he was instantly my favorite Spider-Man. And I think that's, you know, like I said before, not a lot of people are gonna agree with that, especially everyone that's always like, oh, Iron Boy Jr. and all that stuff.
But well, that's the crazy thing I think with this movie is it kind of does a reset with that, because like at the end of the movie, you know, Doctor Strange pretty much erases everybody's minds that, you know, no one knows who Peter Parker is anymore. So he's losing all that tech.
He's definitely losing all that.
Yeah, he's losing. He doesn't have the access to, because Happy doesn't know who he is. So like he's not going to have access to any Stark technology at all. So he's back to being what Toby Spider-Man and Andrew's Spider-Man was, just this crime fighting guy who's kind of just, you know, trying to live two lives really, his personal life and then, you know, his life as Spider-Man. So I think it's gonna be interesting. You know, I think these first three MCU movies, or Spider-Man MCU movies, were kind of like easing him in. This is a young Spider-Man. He's kind of under, you know, Tony Stark's shadow type stuff, and No Way Home kind of, I think, completed that transition of him kind of, you know, really going into the next era of what Spider-Man's going to be, and we're going to get really a Spider-Man that's in the prime of his like crime fighting days. I think we're going to get a lot of cool villains that they haven't done yet. I think, you know, Kraven is definitely, I think, going to be on the board as a possible villain. I think they're going to want to do that. It's been one of the most Kraven's Last Hunt, one of the most popular comic books of all time. I think he's a potential villain. I think they're going to want to do something with Kingpin, because the most exciting part for me for this movie, and I think some people could agree, Charlie Cox coming in as Daredevil was probably, I was like, oh my God, yes, because it opens up so much they can do. There are potential team ups with Daredevil now.
And I love that. I loved when he showed up on there now.
Yeah, it was awesome, and it was kind of like, I was hoping for that, you know, when we saw that, you know, Peter was going to go through all this, you know, interrogation, you know, he's possibly going to get arrested and stuff. He needs a lawyer to defend him. So what better way than to get Matt fucking Murdock to come in and like, yeah, and be like this, you know, be his lawyer. So I was so excited to see him. And now, you know, spoilers for Hawkeye too. Kingpin's in it. So, and that's
Vincent D'Onofrio's back.
Yeah, so Kingpin from that universe, or from the Netflix universe, they stated that he's the same character. So now we have Daredevil and Kingpin in that in the MCU. Now we have a potential. We can see Kingpin head to head against Spider-Man. We can see like Kraven. You know, Vulture's still out there. Scorpion, Childish Gambino can do the Prowler. So I think we're gonna get a lot of villains that we haven't seen before in Spider-Man that they're going to be able to do, which I think is going to be really interesting and really cool.
I think they'll probably also take inspiration from Insomniac's universe because obviously if you guys have seen the teaser for Spider-Man 2 for on the PS5, it's supposed to be both Kraven and Venom in that game. So I think whenever we come into this, what people are calling Tom's college trilogy, I think it's mainly going to be doing the black suit again. And then,
Black Suit's coming in for sure. And I think Black Suit also sets up, I think, what we're thinking the MCU is going to go to their next big, like, huge event, especially since we're getting the multiverse, maybe, is Secret Wars. Because in that comic book, Spider-Man had the symbiote as a suit.
That's where he got the black suit.
Yeah, and the cool thing about the whole, I love how they did the Venom thing because
people were pissed off.
Yeah, well, I loved it because at the end of Venom, like Venom says, like it's a universal hive mind. So in Spider-Man 3, they basically connected Venom, who I have a theory here. He's part of Andrew Garfield's universe. So that not Tom Holland.
Andrew Garfield.
No, Bane. Tom Hardy. Tom Hardy's like Venom. He's in Andrew Garfield's universe. I think that. So I think his Venom, it's a hive mind or whatever. So the Spider-Man or the Venom in Spider-Man 3, the Topher Grace Venom that everybody hated, that Venom knew who Peter Parker was. So that's why he got pulled into the universe with the MCU, which was Doctor Strange's spell. So because it's a hive mind, so that means they're symbiotes that are all across the multiverse, and their knowledge expands through the multiverse. That's how Venom came through in the first place. So I thought they did that in a really great way. And my friend mentioned it too as well. Like the Tom Hardy Eddie Brock maybe isn't maybe the best guy to go up against a Tom Holland MCU Spider-Man.
Oh no, he would be perfect for Andrew Garfield.
Yeah, he would. Yeah, that's Andrew Garfield. That's why I think he's part of that universe. And I think with this, they've also opened up using the symbiote in the MCU. They can use it a lot of different ways because the symbiote attaches to a lot of different characters in the Marvel universe other than Spider-Man. Like it attaches to a few characters. So
I think I have a theory of where they're going to go with it, but I want to save that for last. But Venom, or not Venom, but the symbiote being into the MCU, as soon as we saw that's the post-credit scene, if you guys didn't know. But it's Venom or Tom Hardy going back to his universe once Doctor Strange undoes the spell, and he leaves behind that little bit of the symbiote. I was like, no way. Are they about to do what I think they're going to do right now? And then it moves, and I'm like, we haven't seen this in a decade, man. We haven't seen this in like 15 years.
Yeah. Now they're actually going to do it, I think, right. And now Spider-Man, he doesn't have the tech suits anymore. He just has his normal suit. So the symbiote can definitely attach to him in some way. And I think because in the comics originally, kind of going into like comic like lore here, Reed Richards is actually the one originally who Fantastic Four helps him get off that symbiote suit because Spider-Man, he tells him it's alive, and he's like, oh my god, like get it off of me, like type thing. So it could be a little nod to maybe get the Fantastic Four in there too. But I'm really happy with what they did with Venom. I think getting him in the MCU, and then Tom Hardy, he has still that other universe that Sony has that they can still do a lot of stuff with. Like I said, I think Tom Hardy and Morbius, they're in the Amazing Spider-Man universe. That's one of my theories that we can get into like some other time. But I thought it was really interesting and really cool what they did. And I think Venom's a potential villain for the next film. Kraven, Kingpin, they have so many like options they can go to now, which is really, really cool.
Well, I think Venom might be not necessarily like in the next film, but I think it'll probably be like the climactic film, like probably like the third film of the next trilogy. That would be the finale or something like that. I think probably he'll probably get it in maybe the second one and then be rid of it by the end of it, and then in the next one then it'll be Venom, and it'll be like a whole thing with Venom. But
or maybe at the end of this next movie, he has whichever villain it might be. Like for me, I think I'm thinking it's going to be Kraven.
I wonder if Sony's Kraven movie, I wonder if that's going to be set in the MCU. I don't think it probably won't. I don't think it will be. But
I totally forgot they're coming out with a Kraven movie.
Yeah, with Aaron Taylor Johnson, which doesn't make any sense.
Oh my god. Yeah, they shouldn't do that.
I don't really see where they're going with that, to be honest. But at the same time, I think they're also still trying to form like their own Sinister Six, because we didn't get a Sinister Six in this movie, which I thought they were totally gonna do.
Yeah, well, that was a big thing that a lot of people thought was going to happen, and I mean, with Doc Ock, I mean, he wasn't really like he was like halfway a villain, not really, because he's still Dr. Octavius,
Yeah.
In this movie, so we didn't actually get like a truly like evil Doc Ock. It kind of was the Sinister Six in a way, because you had Electro, you had Doc Ock, you had the Green Goblin, you had Sandman, you had the Lizard, and then Venom was technically there, but he just didn't fight. He was like out drinking in a bar, like he had no interest in who Peter Parker was, because that Eddie Brock of that universe has no idea who that is, and Venom only knows because Tobey Maguire fought him in Spider-Man 3. So I think technically that was like kind of their Sinister Six that kind of like did it in a funny way, but it wasn't actually like this is the Sinister Six. This is like the six villains, which I still think they might. I think they might do in the Garfield universe, because they've left themselves open to do a lot with Spider-Man. Like I think we'll get a live action Spider-Verse movie maybe eventually with different types of Spider-Man, like maybe a Spider-Gwen or
Well, I think with I would say like maybe technically you could say Mysterio was the sixth villain, because literally the entire thing, this entire movie happens is because of him.
Yeah.
So you could say like he's the sixth member. So it would be Mysterio, Green Goblin, Doc Ock, Electro, Lizard, and Sandman. And the only thing is like they have opened themselves up to do a lot with Spider-Man, especially going back to Andrew's universe, because they still left a lot of things, up for discussion.
I
when
just
that
saw
was
Amazing
happen.
Spider-Man 2 last night, and I was just like baffled with that, like how much that they could have like done with this, and
they were supposed to do their own Sinister Six.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and then like a lot of people now, because Andrew redeemed himself in this movie. So when Andrew and Toby came back, which I loved how they did that too. But
By the way, Andrew and Toby come back.
Yeah. If you didn't know, but Andrew Spider-Man, I think I honestly I love, because Andrew, to me, if I'm going, because Toby's my favorite. It's the one I grew up with. I think a lot of people's favorite is Toby. We grew up with him. He was our first incarnation of a live action Spider-Man. But to me, I thought out of Tom and Toby, I think like Andrew had the most comic accurate Spider-Man of them all.
Oh, definitely.
The storyline and the plot just was terrible, was awful. Like you didn't know what they were doing with it. So in this movie, I thought he got a lot of what he deserved, the praise and stuff, because he did a really great Spider-Man. He even like it's funny what the MCU did too, like when he was kind of like all saying like he wasn't awesome, and like Toby's like, no, you are awesome. Like
you're
really
amazing.
Great.
You're amazing.
You're amazing. Yeah, can I just say something? You're amazing. So I thought that was really cool by the MCU to kind of like do that. And I think he has a huge storyline that's just wasn't told, that wasn't finished. Even with Toby too. With Toby as well.
Even when he was talking about like when Andrew was talking to Tom about what happened after Gwen died, when he was talking about like I stopped pulling my punches, he's like I became bitter, I became angry, and I was like I want to see that. I want to see what happened to him after that, because
definitely
it left off. Amazing Spider-Man 2 left off on like this very hopeful statement, with Peter coming back into the fold as Spider-Man after Gwen died. But I was like, when he said I stopped pulling my punches, I was like, oh shit, like I was like, I wonder like how hardened he became after that, and what happens after losing that person that he loved. And I think whenever he comes back, when he goes back to his universe, I think we'll probably see him come back into being the Spider-Man that he was before. But I do agree with you that I'm gonna quote a line from Bo Burnham when people say that Toby is their favorite Spider-Man. Original does not mean good. Not to say
that's true. That's true.
Not to say that Toby isn't good, because Toby is good. But I liked his Peter. I wasn't really a big fan of his Spider-Man, because his Spider-Man, it was just the same as Peter. But essentially, with Andrew's,
Spider-Man 1, he did a really great job. The second and third movies, I think Sam Raimi went for more of a darker type of like feel with those movies. That's why we didn't get the cocky like Spider-Man. The thing is, I think with Tobey, even though he's not like, I would say objectively maybe the best Spider-Man, is the fact that those, especially Spider-Man 2, is a masterpiece.
Oh yeah,
movie.
definitely.
It's an incredible movie, and that like really hit our feels, and the music, everything.
If this movie hadn't come out, even if this movie hadn't come out, Spider-Man 2 would still be my favorite. Yeah,
for sure. Yeah, Spider-Man 2 was just one of the greatest superhero movies that we've ever seen. Mm-hmm. And so I think that's where a lot of the Tobey love comes from. And I think that's what they tried to do with Andrew a little bit when they did the reboot, was they tried to, kind of make it more comic accurate Spider-Man, not maybe more. So I really think the 3 Spider-Man movies, those were more kind of for the box office. Those were, set up, kind of as their own thing. They weren't really trying to, they were using the comic material for sure, but they're also trying to tell their own story too in a way. And then, of course, Andrew Garfield, and then Tom Holland. I think Tom Holland MCU, it just kind of progressed since then. Definitely, like, I think Tobey, even in this movie, like I think he redeemed himself a little bit too on, his Peter Parker and his Spider-Man, because he had some quips in there too, like with the Avengers like line or whatever. Yeah, who is that?
The Avengers? That's great. Who is that?
Who is that? Yeah, it was so awesome.
Are you in a band?
Yeah, it was terrific. And it also like says the Avengers, they don't exist, and that universe with Tobey, so he's kind of just there alone too, which makes it even more, I think, emotional too.
Yeah, so they don't exist in either of their universes, of Tobey or Andrew, because they were both like, who is that?
Yeah, they're like, who are the Avengers? Like,
although
even though they mentioned Doctor Strange, they did mention Doctor Strange in Spider-Man 2.
That is true.
So
what's funny is that whenever Tobey said that line, like, the Avengers, that's great, I was like, oh, do the Avengers exist in this universe? But then he was like, who is that? I was like, oh, okay.
Yeah, there you go. That explains that.
I was like, all
right.
But
yeah, just kind of going back, I think the big thing I think with the Tobey love is because those 3 movies.
Yeah,
everybody grew up with that, and
pure,
those 3
pure
movies,
nostalgia.
It's pure nostalgia. And he did not play a bad Spider-Man. He played a really great Spider-Man. And
just because Tobey is not my favorite, it doesn't mean that he's bad. I love I love Tobey, I love Andrew, and I love Tom. Tom just happens to be my favorite because
nostalgia is just great. People get like absorbed with it.
The whole reason why Tom is my favorite is because I had already realized what they were doing before everyone else even saw this film. Is that I knew that this was Peter at his, just at his beginning. Everyone wants to see Spider-Man already done, like already established, already, fighting crime, already having this whole rogues gallery of villains, already having all this experience and all that stuff, which is why a lot of people like the Spider-Man that came out on the PS4, because he was already experienced. He was already, he was already 8 months into being 8 years into being Spider-Man. And that's cool and all, but the thing is like, for me, I'm like, I want to see how he starts, like whenever, like in Spider-Man PS4, like whenever you're collecting like all the backpacks, and it has like a certain item in there, and Peter will say, oh yeah, I remember this, and it was like back when I first started and all this stuff, and I'm like, I want to see that. I want to see him starting out. I want to see him grow as a hero and grow as a character and everything like that. So that's why I really like Homecoming, and why I really love Far From Home, because it's showing the different points at which Peter is learning about responsibility, but at the same time, because he's a teenager, kind of forgetting that lesson and still going on as if like nothing ever happened, because that's what a lot of teenagers do. They don't learn their lessons. And
you definitely learned it in this movie.
You definitely learned it in this movie because of Aunt May, because Aunt May gets deleted. But that whole scene when Peter is looking up at J. Jonah Jameson in the rain, and Jameson is just talking about like how everywhere Spider-Man goes, what does he say? Everywhere Spider-Man goes, death follows, or something like that, or chaos follows. Something along those lines, and just that slow-mo shot of Peter, and it's going around his face, and he's just realizing, like everything that he says, it's true. And I'm just like, yeah, that's what we were leading up to. I'm like, this is where he's finally learning the whole meaning behind with great power comes great responsibility, which they finally also said in this movie as well.
Yeah, yeah. When Aunt May says it, and then I think it was really cool too to have Toby and Andrew, and I think Toby was really the mentor, really to both of them in this movie, because the way he would like talk to them, like with Andrew saying, "No, no, you're amazing," and then like when Toby kind of tells him like, my Uncle Ben died, and then Toby, of course, like stops him from killing, Green Goblin. At that one, he just looks at him and he's like,
dude, I know. He's like, I understand.
Yeah. Toby was really a role model. And I think that really helped. I think, Tom Holland's Spider-Man from like falling into this like deep, dark, like just hating himself type thing. Like Andrew and Toby really, I just love how they did that. They're really like anchors for him to kind of become this Spider-Man that we're going to see moving forward, which I think is going to be, I think, probably the best iteration of Spider-Man that we've seen on the movies now. And I think we're going to get to see a lot of like new cool villains and stuff like that. So it's really cool how they did that, and I really like how they went into the Aunt May being like the Uncle Ben here, and then the other two Spider-Mans really kind of coming together and like kind of lifting him up, and putting him, trajecting him up to like being this new character that we're going to see moving forward.
Yeah, and that was something that a lot of people were thinking about. Like, if Toby and Andrew are in this, like, what is their role going to be? Like, are they just cameos? Are they, are they just going to show up? Yeah, they were in like full on. They were full on supporting roles, and that was what's great. Like, they came up for the entire third act and everything like that.
I had a question about this too. Like, do you think Mary Jane got put in that universe because she knows who Peter Parker is?
So here's the thing. So I remember back. I remember back when Alfred Molina got cast, or when everyone found out that he was cast in the movie, and Jamie Foxx said that he was cast in the movie as well. There was a report that came out from Collider, like a little bit later on, that was talking about Andrew Garfield was confirmed to come back, that Toby was in talks to come back, but that Kirsten Dunst was confirmed to come back, and that apparently Emma Stone was also in talks, depending like on her pregnancy or something like that. But apparently there might have been a draft of the script where maybe Mary Jane does come into the universe or something along those lines.
I'm just thinking that because like she knows who Peter is, so because everybody kind of who knew Peter Parker or whatever came into that universe, so she knows she's one of the ones that knows who he is. I'm trying to think who else knows in that universe. There's always a kind of in the Sam Raimi universe that Aunt May knew who he was. There's a theory out there that she knew who he was because that speech that she does in Spider-Man 2. And then also, and you played the Spider-Man game, Aunt May knows who he is the entire time.
Oh my god, don't even remind me of that.
Yeah, but I mean, I don't know, like I knew like Kristen Dunst wasn't going to come back. But it's just kind of like a little theory, like what if she got like spawned in the universe too? Like she could have, like she knew who Spider-Man was.
One thing that people were asking about though was that Electro never found out who Peter was, who Spider-Man was. But yeah, he came in.
That was a plot hole. Plot hole.
But then people were saying like, oh, well, he got connected into the grid in New York, so that was also a way that he could have possibly have figured it out. But I'm like, well, that could be possible, but it's never explicitly stated or anything like that.
Yeah, that was a strange, I don't know, because Electro was the one that they didn't really kind of like explain like, hey, like why he got like pulled in. His body was completely different too. Mm-hmm. He wasn't blue. He was a completely different person. So yeah, I don't know. The only thing I could think of is maybe the grid, or he figured it out or something like that. Like, or like he wasn't like maybe fully dead when Green Goblin and the Amazing Spider-Man 2 comes down, and he's like, he's like, so when Spider-Man said no, Peter said no. Like maybe he was still kind of a little bit still there maybe at the end of the movie. But yeah, that was one thing I was like, man, how did he was the one villain. How did he like get pulled in? Which Jamie Foxx did a great job. Like I think he redeemed the Electro too. Jamie Foxx is such a God, such a great actor. They had Jamie Foxx and William freaking Dafoe, dude. Like,
I mean, also another. I mean, technically, Electro's whole character is a plot hole because they were just like they didn't even explain it. Even Lizard was all like Max, is that you? Last time I saw you, you had a comb over and a like a gap in your teeth and all this stuff, and he's like yeah, I got an upgrade or something like that, but they didn't explain it.
yeah, no, that was a weird kind of. I was cool with it though. I mean, Electro like really kind of. I think all the villains that they had in this were great, including Sandman. I think it was cool that they had like when they had Sandman coming in, like he like was still kind of an ally. I loved how they did that.
Yeah, he protected him from Electro.
He protected him from Electro, and he's like, yeah, no, like where am I? He wasn't like an actual villain, so I thought that was really cool. But yeah, no, the Electro thing was weird. And then not it being the Sinister, like the actual Sinister Six, was a little bit disappointing. But to be fair, these guys are from other universes and stuff like that, so they don't really know each other. So it's like, they're not really like working together. And Green Goblin is a wild card. Like,
yeah, it was
William Dafoe's Green Goblin. You cannot. He's his own.
I mean, apparently, it was hard enough to even get the actors that played Lizard and Sandman back anyway, because they were like away, like they couldn't come to film because of COVID. So
crazy.
So like the entire time, that's why Lizard is always fully in his lizard form, and why Sandman is always in sand form and all that stuff, which was actually really cool. I actually like that he was always in sand form, because that's dope. But yeah, it was because they had travel restrictions because they couldn't fly anywhere, but they did the voiceover, which was good.
Yeah, man, I'm glad they did that, because that was really like, I think having like the kind of these full rogue gallery of villains that we get to see like one more time, especially like Green Goblin. Like I said, I don't foresee them doing another Green Goblin in this universe. No. 'Cause I don't think. Like, William Dafoe was great in the original Spider-Man 2. That was still like a really great performance, but this one was just like, oh my god! Like,
it went to another level.
Yeah, that apartment scene is one of my favorite. Like, it probably is my favorite like Spider-Man scene. I got the quote that he says here. I got to bring it up. He's like, "Strong enough to take it all, too weak to take it." Well, he's just like beating his ass, dude. Just beating his ass, and like Spider-Man like can't do anything. He felt like Spider-Man's like arch nemesis in this, and I thought that was so perfect.
I'm still wondering what was the move from the Spider-Man game that Tom put in there. It's either one of two things. It's either whenever he like lifts up Goblin and he like web swings, or he shoots the webs and he's like going through all of the apartment floors or something like that.
I think that was it. I think that was the game, because I think there's a move similar in the game like that too.
It's either that, or at the very end when he's fighting him on the Captain America shield of Statue of Liberty, when he web swings at him and he like pulls him forward and he like knees him. It was one of those two.
Yeah, definitely. Or he could have done both of them, because the one with the webs when he's coming down, I've seen that in the game before. Like,
yeah, but it's not intense like that.
Yeah, no, that was a whole like other level. But yeah, no, I oh my god, the movie was just so good. Like that's gonna go down as one. I'm glad it lived up to the hype too, because that's one of those things with these movies. Like I said, once I saw Charlie Cox Daredevil, I was like, oh my god! Like,
I'm like, they're doing it. They're doing everything. They're doing everything we wanted.
Yeah. Once I saw that, I was like, okay, now everything's up, because they had they were neglecting those Netflix like
properties,
Netflix series and properties. Like, they didn't want to do anything with them, but like having like Matt Murdock in there, you're like, okay, they're open to do everything now. Like. And so I was like, okay, I'm just waiting for Toby and Andrew now. Like, when's it gonna happen? And how they introduced it was so perfect. It was the culmination. And one thing I like now too is because we can also get maybe like an actual. So the Green Goblin's already, we can take him off, but the Hobgoblin can now is fully open to be done. And now Ned doesn't know who Peter is. And Ned, there's the some of the magic that he was doing and stuff like that kind of shows that he has some like weird stuff maybe about him. And so now he doesn't know who Peter is. I think it's going to be a complete mind fuck now that, Peter, like this dude actually becomes an actual villain because he's really smart. Ned's super intelligent, and the way they built his like character up these past 3 movies, he knows what he's doing. So if he becomes a super villain now, now Peter's gonna have to fight him. It's gonna be like, oh my god, like that's gonna put like Peter in like such a like weird like scenario. Now it's like, oh my god, I'm fighting my best friend, like he's trying to kill me, you know. And I don't know the actor who plays Ned. I'm not exactly don't know his name, but
Jacob Batalon.
Jacob Batalon. He's lost a ton of weight.
Oh yeah, he has. He's lost
losing a lot of weight. I think they're getting him geared up.
One thing that I don't understand though is when people say like, oh, like Ned can do magic and all this stuff, but I think it's stated in Doctor Strange that it's like you don't necessarily have to be like a special person or already have magic abilities to use magic. It was just that the sling ring was literally a tool to be used to be able to open the portals.
Yeah, he had that on. Yeah.
So
there's just like a lot of theories going around with that there's something maybe off, because even like Doctor Strange, when he comes out of the portals, like, did you make that portal? He kind of like subtly says it. Excuse me.
I think it was also mainly just because Doctor Strange himself couldn't make a portal for like a long time in his own movie.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah, but I mean, it's kind of like open to interpretation, because I don't think like Hobgoblin, he's not technically like a magic character, is he?
No, it's just very similar to Green Goblin, where it's just like it's all
insane.
Yeah, it's all insane. But I think when it comes to Ned, I think it's just that the fact that he's so smart, and possibly just that he's open to using his mind a lot more. It's the reason why he's able to make the sling ring a lot easier, because Definitely. Strange had to get transported to Everest in order for him to be able to get transported himself back to I forgot what the place is called, Kamertage. But
Kamertage, yeah.
But that's one thing that I don't really understand, why a lot of people are like, Med can use magic, like what does this mean? I'm like, guys, he has the sling ring on,
Yeah,
I make him do it.
Yeah, and I don't like I said, I never see like Hobgoblin, but like I think, God, it's going to be so cool what they can do with that though now, because Ned can be Hobgoblin. Hobgoblin's almost like Green Goblin, so Peter's fighting essentially the person or somebody that's similar, somebody who has similar kind of mannerisms and a similar skill set to the Green Goblin, the person that caused him the biggest travesty of his life, which is Aunt May, and it's going to be his best friend. That puts him in such PTSD. A like, it puts him in such a like he's screwed. Like he's in such a crazy position. I think that's 100% going to be a villain as Hobgoblin.
I think maybe. Although
he's losing weight.
Yeah, he's losing a lot of weight.
I don't think he's losing weight for no reason. Like
the only thing that I would say about that is that, as much as I think that would be a very interesting concept, I think they should kind of just let Ned and MJ kind of just be on their own, a little bit. Like Peter's staying in New York, MJ and Ned are going to Boston and all this stuff. So unless there's like a huge time jump, or they explain like, oh, Ned didn't.
I think there's going to be a time jump. I think they're going to do a time jump.
I don't think they're going to do a time jump, because right now in the MCU, it's 2024, 25.
Well, I don't think the time jump's going to be like crazy. I think we're talking about when the next because when's the next Spider-Man movie come out? Like 2 years?
Probably
3 years?
Maybe 2 years.
I mean, there's your time jump right there, just 2 to 3 years. Like Spider-Man's going to be already kind of established here, And I think that what they've been doing with these Spider-Man villains, they're kind of doing like multiple villains like in each movie. So I think Far From Home technically did have multiple villains, because you had Hydro Man. Even though they weren't real, they were still kind of,
I don't know if you caught this, but do you remember the dude from Far From Home, the Dimitri?
Yes.
That's Chameleon.
Yes. So they've introduced like multiple villains. Homecoming had, Childish Gambino. He wasn't the Prowler yet, but it's a shout out to the Prowler. Yeah. Then you had Scorpion, and then you had, of course, the Vulture was the main villain, and which is cool now, because now that they've casted the spell, Vulture doesn't know who Spider-Man is anymore. So that's true. That's a really crazy little kind of twist they put in there because no one knows who Peter Parker is now. So Vulture just knows that Spider-Man locked him up behind bars. So Vulture could possibly come back.
And not only that, but he could be teaming up with Scorpion.
Yeah, they could come back as well. They have a lot of things that they could do here now. And that's what I'm saying. Like Hobgoblin, like doesn't necessarily have to be like the only villain that he fights. You know, I think it would just be, I think just the plot behind that, like
it's a very interesting twist on it.
It puts Peter in like that's what Spider-Man is like. You know, he's put in these weird scenarios that he has to figure out how to get out of, and I think. And like just weird like morality decisions. Like now you're fighting your best friend, and not to mention, I mean, in the past, you know, in they kind of hinted at it too.
Oh yeah,
like,
they majorly hinted at it in this one.
Majorly hinted at like, yeah, my best friend tried to kill me, and like Andrew's like, yeah, best friend tried to kill me too. Like they were both like, yeah, he tried to kill me,
and Ned's just like,
and Ned doesn't know who Peter is now, so it's like he doesn't have any emotional attachment to this guy now. He's just can completely just go off the rails and just, you know, try to do his own thing. But
which I actually do respect them doing, because it was like him going to that coffee shop and they're both there and he wants to tell them so bad, you know, like, hey, I'm your best friend, I'm your boyfriend to MJ and all this stuff. Like he wants to do it so badly, but then he sees the cut on MJ's forehead and he's just like, you know what, it's better if they don't. Yeah, so I'm like, that also you know, opens up the world to new love interests as well.
Yeah, Black Cat,
which is what I want. I want Black Cat.
Yeah, Black Cat.
Which is also interesting because with Black Cat, she's not attracted to Peter. She's attracted to only Spider-Man.
Yeah, just Spider-Man.
Just Spider-Man. So it's like nobody knows who Peter is. Obviously, whoever Black Cat's gonna be is not gonna know who Peter is. She's just gonna be super attracted
like Catwoman.
Yeah,
Catwoman essentially.
it's kind of like that. Well,
not. It's similar, but it's not like
she's initially attracted to just Batman, but she does get attracted to Bruce Wayne as well. But Catwoman, but Black Cat is only attracted to Spider-Man. I think there was even an issue in, I don't know if it was Ultimate Spider-Man or if it was a different iteration of Spider-Man, but it was like that Peter was a teenager and he was dating Black Cat, and then he unmasks himself and she throws up on him.
Oh no!
Yeah, that would be pretty funny. But at the same time, you know, obviously he's a legal adult now. But I think Black Cat would be super interesting for that side of Peter that is only attracted to just his Spider-Man side. And plus, if they also introduce the black suit in the same movie that Black Cat is in, that could also give a lot of, you know, like a lot of relationship building, because not only is she attracted to Spider-Man, but he's also the darker version of Spider-Man, which she also is attracted to.
Yeah. So yeah, they have a lot of like openings too, and like I think like I don't know. I think they've also opened up, you know, where we can maybe revisit Toby and Andrew Spider-Mans as well. Like I said, I think Venom's like very much a part of the Amazing Spider-Man universe, and it's been hinted at in the Morbius trailer that he's in and it's confirmed actually that he's in the same universe with Tom Hardy's villain. And that also leads up that there's another, because we clearly see Michael Keaton in that trailer too, that maybe is the Vulture of that universe. So there's a lot of like, could we possibly revisit, you know, the Amazing Spider-Man universe too? Because also, I don't know if you remember from Amazing Spider-Man 2, even though it was a dumpster of a movie. I mean, I liked it, but it was a dumpster of a movie.
You know where it is on my list.
Yeah. Felicia is in that movie. Black Cat's in that movie. So
Felicity Jones plays her.
Yeah, which is but yeah, no, she's in that universe too. So I mean, you know, we could maybe see, you know, Felicity Jones maybe come back in the MCU to play her. We may be able to see somebody else, you know, come into play her. But yeah, I think Black Cat's definitely somebody they need to do. I think they need to do Kingpin. I think Kraven is definitely going to be on their list too.
Well, the thing is that also, if I don't know, I think it's in the latest Morbius trailer that in one of the newspapers of the Daily Bugle, it says on there like Rhino and Black Cat escaped or something along those lines. It says that. Yes. And then not only that, but further proof that it is in the Amazing Spider-Man universe is that the Oscorp exists in Morbius, and it's the same logo as from the Amazing Spider-Man 2.
Yes, yes, I saw that too. That's what's crazy. And Oscorp does not exist at all in the MCU.
which
Completely gone.
which also further kind of limits the options of who bought Avengers Tower.
Yes,
I think I know. I think I know.
it's definitely not Norman Osborn.
I think it's going to become the new Baxter Building.
The new Baxter building.
I think Fantastic Four is going to move in there once they get their powers.
That leaves. Yeah, that's a good theory. Because I mean, they kind of have their own tower. They kind of have their own tower as well, which I'm gonna be interested in seeing. You know how they're gonna get the Fantastic Four kind of like linked up.
Oh yeah,
with this, with like the little hints and stuff like that. Definitely. Oh man, they have so much stuff. It's crazy.
there's literally like so much that they can do now.
Yeah, well, especially just with Spider-Man, like because now Spider-Man, like we know there's multiple different universes with Spider-Man that have all kind of been introduced as canon now. Essentially, everything's canon now.
Technically, everything's canon.
Yeah, everything is canon now with the Spider-Man. Now with them bringing in Tobey and Andrew, so just with how they can open up. Well, this is kind of like a reboot anyway for Tom Holland Spider-Man. It's kind of
Soft reboot.
Yeah, soft reboot. Like, because nobody knows who he is. He's gonna be like this crime level, like fighting Spider-Man. He has that two identities and stuff like that. So he's open to like kind of a whole new like universe here, where he's become essentially like the Spider-Man that we know and love from the comics. And then Sony, they have these other two universes that they can still, because they still technically have rights to Spider-Man.
Yeah.
They can use these two universes at their will. I think. Well, I might save it for another time, but I know there's been a lot of rumors that have been like circulating around with like a potential Spider-Man 4 with Tobey, and then of course all the stuff that we're seeing that's connected on to potentially getting a Venom versus Spider-Man movie with Andrew Spider-Man, and everybody kind of just rooting and wanting another Andrew Garfield to get really another good, I think, fair shot. At
the same time, I'm like, there, everyone that's talking about like, oh, they should make the Amazing Spider-Man 3 probably didn't like the Amazing Spider-Man 2 when it first came out.
I think they need to get different writers for sure. I think they
definitely
need. Yeah, if they're gonna do that, and I don't necessarily think it has to be Amazing Spider-Man 3. I think if you do like Spider-Man versus Venom, or you do like maybe like just Sinister Six, just a Sinister Six movie.
I think they still have plans for that Sinister Six movie.
Yeah, and I don't see it now happening in Tom Holland's universe. Like, I mean,
it's definitely not going to happen in his universe.
Yeah, because like, I mean, I think with the MCU Spider-Man, they're going to want to try to kind of keep his collection of villains, to something that we're not really haven't seen before. And then of course, they have the symbiote there that's going to cause its own, it's going to attach to Peter in its own way there in that universe, and then possibly he gets with Secret Wars, and then all the other movies and stuff Tom Holland might appear in, team ups in the MCU. So the MCU can use like Tom Holland Spider-Man, and then Sony, boom, we can do the Sinister Six here. We can actually get this out, and then we can do the Venom versus Spider-Man and stuff like that. So I'm really interested to see it. It's just kind of weird, like if they do that, like because Tom Holland essentially is Spider-Man now. Like he's the guy. It's kind of like, is it okay for Sony to be? Is it too much Spider-Man? When's it become too much? Maybe.
I think they were always gonna probably have their own version of Spider-Man anyway, because like if you're gonna have your own universe where it's like all these villains in the same universe, then it's like, well, you're gonna have all of these Spider-Man villains, but you're not gonna have Spider-Man in it, So I think they have their own version of Spider-Man already planned out, and if it is in the Amazing Spider-Man universe, then boom, you could just get Andrew Garfield back again. Or
I think he wants to do it, right? He'd be down. I mean, he was telling people he was lying out of his ass.
I mean,
but he was essentially like, "Oh, I'm not in this movie. I haven't been approached."
Yeah, there's so much.
He looked like he was having a lot of fun. So I mean, you would definitely need a commitment from him. But he's probably maybe already committed. Maybe, I don't know. Because the Morbius is definitely not set in the MCU. So it's kind of interesting to see like what Sony's doing now on their end.
There's literally so many rumors talking about Andrew Garfield's Spider-Man still being attached to multiple other projects from Sony. Like there's so many rumors about it.
I mean, Vulture's in that movie, so potential Sinister Six team up with them, because I don't know, like at the end of the Amazing Spider-Man 2, the only thing only issue I'm gonna have with that is that Green Goblin needs to die, and that universe it needs to go away. Like, don't even just seal it dead. Harry Osborn died.
Well, I think the Sinister Six that they were trying to set up in the Amazing Spider-Man 2, it was supposed to be Green Goblin,
Doc Ock was there.
Ock, Rhino, Vulture, Craven, and I think it was supposed to be also Mysterio. Now they've kind of changed that.
I don't think they're even gonna maybe revisit that. So
you have Venom.
We're essentially looking at Andrew Garfield Spider-Man taking Rhino out, so he's probably out of there, because he said Andrew Garfield's like, I fought a guy with like mechanical like arms, so clearly he defeated him. So
yeah,
Morbius.
He's like, I fought a guy in a rhinoceros suit once.
Right? Yeah, mechanical rhinoceros suit. Yeah. So Morbius, Vulture, and then Venom. That's already 3 that they could do.
And then Craven.
Well, they could do Craven in the Amazing Spider-Man universe. I really think the MCU is going to try to do like a Craven's Last Hunt type thing with that, though.
Because that was supposed to be the backup plan for Spider-Man 3 if the multiverse stuff didn't work out. Yeah, the
No Way Home didn't work out. Now they've done No Way Home. People are satisfied with that. Now I think they're my theory for the next Tom Holland MCU Spider-Man is it's going to be, I hope, is going to be Kingpin, and then he's going to hire like Craven as the guy to like take out Spider-Man, and that's going to lead to Spider-Man needing some help, and then it's going to be Daredevil that comes in and helps him really get that Spider-Man Daredevil team up that a lot of fans have been like interested in seeing.
Yeah.
And then maybe somewhere towards the end of that movie, maybe like an ends credit, or maybe at the end of the movie, Venom attaches to the suit or something like that, and that leads into the symbiote Spider-Man that we'll see in the next movie.
All I want from that symbiote Spider-Man suit is just for it to look comic accurate. That's all I want.
Yeah.
I just want it to have, the giant white spider on the front and the back. Mm-hmm. That's all I want. I don't want it.
Which I think they're gonna do.
I don't want it to look the same way that it did in Spider-Man 3.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, no, not at all. No.
Please no.
And like Venom's like the Venom from like I guess the Sony verse or whatever. He doesn't have that at all on him. So, and then also I think that kind of like keeps Venom separate in that universe, maybe to fight like Andrew Garfield Spider-Man, so it never like actually attaches, because it's already attached to Eddie, so it's not. I don't think it's going anywhere.
Yeah, because that was kind of like the thing that was kind of weird about even having MCU. Venom in the first place. Like just doing a Venom movie in the first place is kind of going backwards, because the way that it's supposed to work in the comics is that the symbiote comes to Earth, it attaches to Peter, and then it bonds with Peter for quite a while, and then once Peter detaches from it, then it goes on to Eddie, which is why Eddie looks so like a lot bigger and a lot more menacing, because it's already been attached to somebody, taking their qualities, and they bring it to the next person. So if they're doing, the symbiote saga in the MCU, whatever this little piece of the symbiote is, I don't think it's going to be the hive mind or anything like that until it evolves with Peter and it already attaches to him, so that way it can go to their own Eddie Brock.
Mm-hmm. Let me see the symbiote master. I'm looking this up. I forgot his name. Is it Noel? Yeah,
like the head
Noel.
Symbiote.
Yeah, Noel is like the this opens it up now, because they talk about the multiverse, and we're kind of in the multiverse now. Noel is like kind of the ultra god of darkness and creator of the symbiotes. So this gives them they don't necessarily in this universe have to do like a Venom, because the symbiote in the 616 Marvel comic or 616 those comics, the symbiote attaches to a lot of different hosts. Mm-hmm. It attaches to Wolverine at one point. I don't know if you've ever seen that comic
I've seen
or whatever. That. Yeah, like it's like Wolverine's like healing factors like half like fighting the symbiote, and the symbiote's half attached. It's so badass. Yeah, the symbiote attaches to a lot of other different Marvel characters, like a lot of other heroes. So I think
they did that in Web of Shadows too.
So I think like what this opens up for the MCU is like not only do we have the symbiote here that we can attach, but we can also bring in Null as well, who's like the king of the symbiotes, and then really the actual villain Venom. We'll be able to see that, but Sony can kind of do that on their own thing, while the MCU kind of takes it in another direction. It kind of does its own like little creation of that, which I think would be interesting.
Yeah, and plus I think because what was also cool is that I don't know if you know this, but also the Venom symbiote has attached to Gwen as well.
Yeah.
Called herself
like
Gwenum or something like that.
Yeah, Gwenum.
Yeah, I was like, what?
Yeah, it's pretty crazy. Like the symbiote in like really in the Marvel comics is like really like kind of like open. I mean, eventually it settles like with Eddie. That's who its like primary like host is. But like I said, it's kind of already attached to Eddie there. So the only thing they could have really maybe done is like Spider-Man versus Venom type thing. But Eddie's Venom's kind of a good guy. He's kind of like an anti-hero type, so it doesn't really make sense why they'd be fighting. It'd be more of like
one thing that they could have done if they had cast somebody else in the role is that they could also have done Agent Venom.
Yeah, they could have done. I think I've read that comic too, Agent Venom.
But the thing is like I don't think Tony Revolori really screams Agent Venom. You know what I mean? Like he just feels too small. You know what I mean? Like if he was like bigger, then I think it could have worked. Like if it was like actually like bully Flash Thompson, like Jock and all that stuff, like works out and everything like that.
They just had like a video out. I forgot who posted. I think it was New Rockstars with that could attach. It could possibly potentially attach to Flash. Like so, Flash could maybe like at some point. I mean, it's kind of a nerdy Flash, but I mean, like
that's what I'm saying. I'm like I don't see Tony Revolori being Agent Venom.
Yeah,
because he's so small.
Yeah, he's tiny.
Yeah, he's a small dude. He's a great actor, but he's a small dude. But that's, I mean, I think we already spent half this episode talking about the future and what they could do instead of the actual movie.
Yeah. Well, the actual movie, I mean, we talked about it a little bit. I mean, it's the movie kind of speaks for itself. I mean, this is the greatest Spider-Man movie that they've come out with. I mean, it had everything. Like, you had the iconic villains. I mean, you had William Dafoe. Then you had, we had 3 Spider-Men, that were in the movie that we thought we would never see on screen. And how they introduced them was incredible. And then you had like the sadness of what like a Spider-Man movie is, like that same. Honestly, I think even deeper feelings than we had even in Spider-Man 2. People totally forget who Peter Parker is. It's almost a fate that's like worse than death. Almost, if you think about it, like no one like knows who you are. And I think kind of hinted back to what Mephisto did to him in the comics, where like everybody like forgets, who Peter Parker is. So it was a Aunt May dies. Aunt May, who essentially she's supposed to be like Peter's rock and the person that he goes to for emotional support. This Tom Holland Spider-Man is not going to have any of that. He literally has 0 people that
he has
know who he is. Yeah, that don't care for him. That he's just there. Just fighting crime and stuff like that. And like you said, this opens up, new relationships that he's going to build and stuff like that. But I love how they did like a soft reboot, because now we get like the actual Tom Holland being, an actual Spider-Man instead of like the techie Spider-Man that we've seen, in these first 3 movies, which I love how they did that. Like we had the Iron Spider suit, he had all these cool techs, all these cool suits that, he got in the comics. So he got early on now as a kid where he's used to fighting that. Now he has to kind of like base all
back
his
to
like
basics,
back to his like normal crime fighting. So it's freaking sick. And then the movie's a masterpiece. It's a masterpiece. Like once they brought out like once they got Charlie Cox in, and I was like, okay.
I think also what was something that people kind of like a plot hole that people were talking about was like, so how come Peter didn't have to do anything that he did at the end when Strange was first casting the spell? And I'm like, well, you got to remember, he was asking Strange to make people forget that he's Spider-Man, but then essentially he messed it all up, and he said at the end, just whoever knew I was Spider-Man before should still know now. So that's what brought everyone through.
That's what brought all those villains in.
But then at the end, when the multiverse was breaching and all the villains were coming through, then that's when he's all like, it's not going to be enough for them to just forget that you're Spider-Man. So then that's why he's like, okay, well, then make them forget that Peter Parker exists.
Mm-hmm.
So
including Doctor Strange.
Yeah,
Dr.
so people
Strange
don't even
know who he
realize
is.
that. So even Doctor Strange, and that line that he says, he's like, you don't understand. If you cast this spell, everyone that has ever cared for you, everyone that has ever loved you, and then he says, we would have no remembrance of you. And I'm like, oh, Doctor Strange loved him. I'm like, he loved him.
Doctor Strange really did. Yeah, he did. Which I thought was really cool.
My heart.
It was really cool.
But yeah, that was a plot hole that people were like, that doesn't make any sense. I'm like, well, at first it was just a small thing, and then it turned into a big thing.
You just want people to forget that he's Spider-Man. Then it was like, okay, well, that's not enough. You need to do the entire like Peter Parker.
Yeah, because before it would have just been, they don't know that he's Spider-Man. They're still gonna know who he is, but they're just not gonna have any recollection of him being Spider-Man.
So Toby and Andrew, I'm wondering, do they completely forget what happens then? Because no one knows who he is, so
I don't think that they would forget that they did that. I think it would just be that they helped out another Spider-Man, and then in turn it would be like, oh, it's probably another Peter Parker.
Yeah, I don't think there's any way for themselves to forget because they're essentially the same person, right?
Yeah,
I don't think anybody from the other universes, because they're going to all remember that they were there.
Yeah,
so don't forget.
I don't think as well. I don't think the spell works across every single dimension, right?
I think it just works for the MCU, right? Like, it forgets that everybody there knows he's Peter Parker, and then with that, kind of, it just essentially kind of like reverts everything back to normal. Maybe, I don't know, because now it also did create a bunch of different timelines in all those like Sam Raimi films and everything. Because now Green Goblin's no longer Green Goblin. Doc Ock is back to normal. Electro's normal. So they created all these timelines. But like for my like whole thing is like none of those. How are they going to forget being in another universe? You know, like you just don't forget that.
Well, that's the thing though. It's that. Well, because remember, even when Jameson was talking at the end, he was saying like it's been like so and so weeks since the fiasco at the Statue of Liberty, and it's all because of Spider-Man. And when will he take off his mask and show us who he really is? Because only a coward hides behind a mask and all that stuff. So everything that happened at the Statue of Liberty happened. Yeah.
You know, everything happened. No one knows people know Spider-Man exists, and people know, even like the superheroes know that they fought with Spider-Man. So they don't know who he is. So, which I love. Like no one.
So it's
like,
the reverse instead.
yeah. There's like, Spider-Man fought with us against Thanos, but we don't know who he actually is. You know.
Yeah. So essentially, it would just be like. So I'm wondering if maybe MJ and Ned know, like, hey, we fought with Spider-Man one time, but we don't know who he is. You know.
Yeah, that's crazy. Well, then also like Spider-Man was like swinging with Mary Jane too, or not Mary Jane, Michelle. I guess Michelle Jones is her name.
But just MJ.
MJ, yeah. So she was like swinging with him too. Like it happened. They pulled it off.
It happened. Everyone forgot. Yeah. Move on.
Yeah. I didn't want to say. Did you see like Kim Kardashian spoiled No Way Home?
What she did?
She did, yeah. She spoiled it on her Instagram, and like people were all pissed off.
Hold up, I gotta see this. Oh, I think she probably deleted it. I don't think it's here.
Oh no, she definitely deleted it.
What was it?
I don't know. I'm looking at the article right now. On December 27th, Kim Kardashian shared on Instagram stories her reaction to the many surprises in Spider-Man No Way Home, including screenshots from the climactic ending, despite the fact that the movie opened on December 17th with a record 600 million weekend box office. So everybody,
probably Kim Kardashian also knew the whole internet rule. Like, hey, it's already been more than a week. I can do whatever I want now.
Yeah, I can do what I want. People were still pissed. I had this girl that I know. She posted on her story like when she was taking video of when like Tom Holland and like Tobey Maguire, and like I jokingly said spoiler alert, and she was like, oh my god, I didn't even realize. And I was like, dude, it's been out for a week. If they haven't seen this movie, like
it's
being dumb.
It's already made $1 billion.
Yeah, it's made $1 billion. Like how have you not seen it yet? I get like some people, you know, people have different schedules and stuff like that. Just the internet though is like, I made sure to stay off social media even when the movie first came out. Like I was just like, nope, can't do it.
Even on the days leading up, because I had to get off of social media the Monday when the premiere happened, because I couldn't even go on YouTube. Even YouTube wasn't safe, because I went on YouTube one time.
YouTube's the worst place. YouTube's the worst place. And TikTok.
So here's the thing. Before this movie came out, I already knew like 75% of the movie, because I intentionally went out and found the leaks and all that stuff before anything was ever confirmed. That
leak that you shared on Twitter, I think you retweeted it with like the Charlie Cox Daredevil, and like the 3 Spider-Mans. It's hard to know if that's a spoiler or not, because people are so good at photoshopping. They're so great at photoshopping. I remember sharing that to my best friend. He like told me, "Hey, dude, like don't share any more stuff because we don't know if it's real, but it possibly could be." And it turned out to be real.
I saw the shot. I remember seeing the exact shot that it was in the movie.
Yep. And I was like, oh my God, like I don't know. I thought it was like too good to be true. But once they announced like Charlie Cox was like going to reprise his role as Daredevil, I was like, okay, he's got to be in this movie. He has to be.
Oh, you mean when Feige was just like, if
announced like right before the movie, the No Way Home had actually dropped the movie.
And he was all like, if Daredevil were to come back, yes, it would be Charlie Cox.
It's gonna be Charlie Cox. Yeah, I love how everybody, like when I was in the theater cheered, they're like, dude, yes.
What sucks is that I saw it twice. The first time, yes, everyone went bananas in the theater. Everyone went crazy. The second time, nobody was like, what?
Yeah, most of the people have already seen it. They're like, yeah, we're here for a second round. That's maybe why like people haven't seen it yet, because like people like me and you, we keep going back and seeing it, buying up all the tickets.
That's true. I just remember because I saw it with my aunt and her husband and her best friend, and I remember like he comes up and then she turns to me and she's like, "Is that Daredevil?" And I'm like. And she's like, dope.
Dope. Yeah, dope. It was so sad how he catches like the rock or whatever. I think they had like a theory. Yeah, I'm a really good lawyer. I think they had a theory on that too, that like Daredevil's like reflexes are even like better than like Spider-Man's spider sense. But it's crazy because like Spider-Man like he goes to catch the rock too at the same time. Like, and he's like, well,
he just catches it like that.
Yeah. But I think it shows like his reflexes, because I think even in the comics they hint at it, like his reflexes are actually just a slight bit quicker than Spider-Man's spider sense, because he has to be.
He was freaking trained in martial arts, dude.
Yeah, the dark martial arts. I'm just wondering, like, with that. I mean, I guess it'll be something that we save for another day. But like, how much of that, like, the Netflix shows are going to be canon on that? Like, is this the Daredevil from the Netflix shows, or?
Well, we could talk about that because that also goes into Hawkeye as well.
Yeah, it goes into Hawkeye. Yeah, I know. We're gonna be doing our own little thing on that too, which is gonna be cool.
But yeah, I think that was pretty much what we wanted to talk about.
Yeah,
that was just us just gushing about No Way Home. And
yeah.
I think for another episode, we'll also talk about where it actually ranks on or obviously it's going to rank really high, but we're also going to rank all of the other Spider-Man movies.
Yeah, all the other ones after that. Yeah,
because everyone hates my ranking. Yeah, I got so many messages when everyone was like, "What?
Yeah, what are you doing, dude?
What are you doing?" And I'm like, I said what I said.
Yeah, I mean, I mean, for like the majority of people, this one's definitely probably like at the top. Like, there's no,
I don't think like top 3 maybe.
Yeah, like I don't think there's any way you come out of that movie like being an actual like comic book fan, Spider-Man fan, where you don't think that's not the best Spider-Man movie that you've ever seen. Like, it had everything. It had iconic characters, the villains. You had the original Spider-Man, Tobey Maguire in it, so you got that nostalgia feeling from it. And then you got that like cool new like reboot feeling that, you know, oh my God, like they just completely just like refresh the series, which is something that like we're kind of like, this is dope. Like, now it's the actual Spider-Man in the MCU, and you know, all this Daredevil appearing, and you know, you have the Venom symbiote now introduced, and then Doctor Strange, who's one of my favorite characters, was in the freaking movie.
Oh yeah, he's one of my favorites.
Yeah, and then we learned in the movie too that, you know, Wong is like the Sorcerer Supreme now. That's huge news.
Which
that's massive news.
I did not expect that at all. I still thought it was strange.
Yeah. So like, oh yeah, technicality. Wong's like the Sorcerer Supreme. So that's another like it just sets up so much stuff. And then I know we're gonna like have another like episode on the Multiverse of Madness, which is the movie I'm probably outside of Batman that I'm looking forward to next year, probably the most. And yeah, it
Yeah,
was. I cried. I cried in the movie. I
I
didn't cry a
cried.
lot.
I cried twice.
You cried twice. My
Yeah.
friend was bawling. Like he was a Spider-Man. Like it's you got to look at it like when you're like a little kid, you know, and you grow up with this, like, and you're like reading the Spider-Man comics and then you're watching the cartoon shows and stuff
Oh
like
my
that, and
God,
then you grow up
yes.
with the Toby movie stuff, and you know all this, you know, and this is like your favorite character, and then like it all kind of comes together, like your dream, you know, like all this coming out on screen and stuff like that, like dude, it does get emotional because you invested so much time as like a little kid and stuff like that. Like,
Yeah, like legit Spider-Man, the first Spider-Man movie was I don't my mom can't confirm it because she doesn't remember, but I to me it is. But Spider-Man, the first Spider-Man movie was the first movie I ever saw like in my life. So that obviously put
movies, yeah.
yeah, that put it into like, you know, obviously Spider-Man's going to be like a top tier character for me, and it's what I've always been growing up with. That's what got me into comics, that's what got me into superheroes and everything like that. So yeah, it all started with Tobey Maguire's Spider-Man, and I always have him to thank for that.
Yeah, all of us who grew up had Toby Spider-Man, so him coming back in this, it just had like a big, just huge, like just oh my god, they brought him back, they brought
Yeah.
Toby back, and we had such a huge emotional connection, you know, with him, you know, in those three films, which were like ahead, like the first two especially ahead of their time. The third
Oh yeah.
one, you know, you can argue about, you know, that, you know, even the third one now, I watched the third one, I'm like, this is not that bad of a movie. It's pretty good. I don't like, you know, what they did with Venom, but you know, like, it was still for what it was a great movie to me.
Yeah, my
It's
opinion.
not the best.
Yeah, my
It's not the
opinion on
best,
it
for sure.
kind of my opinion on that one kind of changes a little bit because I remember I saw it with my grandpa and I was just absolutely like loathing it. Like I was just like, oh my god, like please let me stop watching this. But then I watched it again for my rewatch of everything, and I was just like, it's actually not that bad.
The first time I saw it too, I was like, okay, this could have been. It wasn't the ending that we were really kind of expecting. It doesn't
It
leave
be
off.
because it wasn't supposed to be an ending. They were still planning a part 4.
Yeah, they kind of it was just kind of weird how everything kind of like occurred in it and stuff like that. So we were kind of hungry for him to come back. You know, we are
Yeah.
hungry for Toby to come back, and then a lot of the, you know, for the diehards, you know, like me and you, we kind of want to see Andrew, you know, get a second shot. And this movie like gave them, you know, gave that nostalgia feeling, and then like Tom Holland now has grown into like the Spider-Man. So it was beautiful, man.
I think that was something that we all had been missing for a while as well, because it was like Spider-Man 3 didn't have any sense of closure because there was supposed to be another one and then it was canceled. And then with Andrew, he didn't even get a trilogy and we were just left off with like a mediocre movie with
No
a bunch of
closures.
stuff planned, and yet we also didn't have any closure for that. So we have two major Spider-Man franchises that didn't have any closure with them, and seeing them back into this one finally, I think either gave a lot of closure to a lot of people, or it seriously like they remember like how much we didn't get a closure, and that there should be a proper conclusion.
They're hungering more. Yeah, they did a genius way of doing that. It's like, okay, we got to see them back, and they got to be in this epic, incredible movie. And if I think a lot of people will be at peace if this is the last time we see them again, even though I think the majority we want to see them in some shape or form come back again. But if we never see either Andrew or Toby come back, for example, if it just never happens, I think people will be kind of at peace with that, because this movie, like I said, not just even like a Marvel movie, but like as an actual like cinema, this was an incredibly well made movie. Like this was like definitely one of the best superhero movies it's up there for me. Like it's up there with the Infinity War Endgames. I won't rank it higher than like the Dark Knight Batman, of course, but it's kind of, it teeters into that like that area there of just like one of the favorite movies I've ever seen.
I know this isn't on the subject of Spider-Man, but I will say there is one movie that I've ranked higher than The Dark Knight.
You can go ahead and, it's a comic book movie.
Yeah, it's a comic book movie.
You can tell me. I'll try to see if I can comprehend it.
It's Batman 66. I'm just kidding.
Oh, oh God.
No, it's Logan.
You know what? I I I kind of agree.
I honestly think Logan is the best superhero.
I have
movie.
Dark Knight ranked higher than it, but
I have Logan ranked number 1, but The Dark Knight is second.
Logan is definitely.
I love Logan so much.
I have the Old Man Logan comic book.
I still need to read it, but I didn't.
You haven't read? I'll let you borrow it.
The only reason why I didn't read it is because I know there's so many characters in it that we're definitely not going to be able to see in Logan, so I didn't even bother reading it.
The story is it's totally different in Old Man Logan.
Yeah, I know that. I definitely know that.
Yeah, it's completely different. But I love how they did with the cinema Logan, and like, yeah, Logan is. If there's gonna be one, that's the one movie that people can tell me is better than like The Dark Knight, and I'm not. There's no argument here for me. Like it's honestly
You're like you know what,
with that idea too. The only reason why The Dark Knight is like, to me, that was the greatest portrayal of like the Joker. We're never gonna get. I don't think that was once in a lifetime. We're never gonna get like a comic book accurate adaptation like that again. We might, but. I think was the greatest comic or movie adaptation that you're going to get with Batman and Joker. That was perfectly like just.
I think the only way that you can beat the Heath Ledger or the Joker that was played by Heath Ledger in The Dark Knight is if you go the psychotic Joker route, because and I'm not talking about like Joaquin Phoenix's Joker or anything like that. That was just the Joker that was just like, you know, he had some mental issues, but I'm talking about a Joker.
We'll talk about that some other time. I'm not. Yeah. I like that movie, but I'm not like the greatest biggest fan of it.
But that's all I'm saying. I'm like, the only way that you beat the Joker in The Dark Knight is if you have the pure psychotic Joker that's just
like the Green Goblin, like
hell-bent.
Green Goblin.
Yeah, that's just hell-bent on being evil and just making Batman's life a hell. But I'm holding out also high hopes that the Batman that comes out in March will be better than The Dark Knight. I hope.
That's what we can all hope for. We can all hope for. I know we're going to be doing an episode on that too. So
yeah, we'll do a whole episode.
We're going to do a whole Batman episode.
Just Batman. We'll also even rank our Batman movies as well.
Yeah. But, which I already kind of spoiled that, like where mine's gonna go. But the other ones, though, you know,
it could go
Batman and Robin. Does Batman and Robin crack the top 5?
There's only like 8.
Well, yeah. Well, no, because we can do the animated movies too, like maybe the major animated movies.
Well, then I need to watch those first.
You haven't seen any of the animated movies?
Well, I've seen some of them, but I didn't put them in my ranking.
I'm talking about not everything, because there's so many of them. I'm talking about maybe The Dark Knight Returns. You've seen that, right?
Oh, I've seen Dark Knight Returns. I've seen The Long Halloween. One that I really need to see is Mask of the Phantasm.
Phantasm.
And you see that one? I haven't seen Under the Red Hood. I do have it.
I need to rewatch those too.
I have Under the Red Hood, but I haven't read it yet, or I haven't watched it.
Maybe we can maybe pick out which ones we like, and or the ones that
at
are
least from what we've seen
impactful. Yeah. I think we're gonna do a Spider-Man ranking a different time too with those Spider-Man movies. Maybe we can do it do those episodes each. That's crazy. This is gonna be a lot of fun. We can have a lot of fun with what we do.
Yeah. But that was pretty much our thoughts on No Way Home. Pretty much, if you had to give it a score, Jack, what would you rate it?
I'm giving it a 9.5 out of 10 for sure. I want to give it a 10 out of 10. I think it definitely is a 10 out of 10 potential movie. I'll give it a 9.5 though.
I'm giving it a 10. I'm going to give it a 10 just purely because the only other movie that I've had an experience like that in the theater with was Endgame. And even this felt even more bigger than Endgame.
Yeah, because Endgame, I feel like Endgame, we kind of had a feeling that
we already knew what was going to happen.
We kind of had a feeling where this was going to end up. It was just how they were going to get led to those events and what they were going to do to set up.
Which is why I think Infinity War was better. Yeah,
well, I mean, they're kind of on the same levels for me, but I think with this, I mean, I'm close to giving it a 10 too, honestly. Basically, and a lot of that too is just based off William Dafoe's like Green Goblin too. Like honestly, how they did that was incredible. But I think it was cool because we got all these cool little surprises. We got the Matt Murdock, which I think for a lot of us, who are really diehard fans, were like, yes, they're finally kind of connecting these Netflix shows that we invested our time into. And then
that was definitely a big one for me because Daredevil's my favorite show of all time.
Yes, and then like you get these nostalgic feels with the past Spider-Man that we grew up with. Honestly, I'll probably give it a 10 too, 9.5, 9.7, 9.5 to a 10. Like it's there. It's definitely to me one of the top 5 comic book movies I've ever seen.
Mm-hmm.
I would probably rank it maybe above Endgame, possibly.
I actually do have it ranked above Endgame.
The only thing like with Endgame and stuff, it's already been out for a while. Endgame, we've never done that. We've never had everybody kind of culminate to like that type of event either. So it's been a while since that's been out. I've rewatched it like thousands of times. I've rewatched
it so many times.
Yeah, Spider-Man No Way Home's fresh, so I want to kind of revisit that later on. But I will say probably the feeling that I got in the theater was like, I would say in the theater I got actually more excited than I did in Endgame, just because the surprises that we got, and it lived up to the hype. Like they delivered with this movie how they delivered with Infinity War and with Endgame. Marvel, they had this huge like thing, all this pressure and stuff to kind of release a great movie that, we had all these expectations for. And not only did they meet the expectations, I think they exceeded the expectations in all 3 of those films.
100% exceeded my expectations. They went even me knowing 75% of the movie, they still managed to surprise me at every single time.
You're just like, because we kind of had the feeling, okay, we know for sure Toby and Andrew are coming back.
Yeah.
They're coming back. But how is that going to happen? How are they going to incorporate that? How is that,
how's it going to work? How's it going to tie together? How's it going to flow and all this stuff?
Are they coming in at the very end of the movie? Are they going to be at the beginning? How's that going to happen? And they delivered the pacing. Like I said, the villains are iconic. William Dafoe is a freaking badass. And we got this like incredible movie that's I'm always going to hold dear to my heart, and that's why all these directors and stuff, like you always say, MCU can't make great cinema or it's not great cinema. This movie is like a prime example of great cinema. You have all the nostalgia feelings and all these emotional feelings, just being excited in the theater. And a lot of us who were outside, like who hadn't been to a theater in a while because of COVID and stuff, coming back and being able to see this, and getting this excitement, it was incredible, man. So I would say it's for me, it's a top 5 comic book movie of all time. The best solo movie the MCU's done for sure.
Oh yeah.
The team ups are like the Avengers and stuff like that. Like this is actually, a Spider-Man movie. This is their best solo film they've come out with, I think.
Yeah, I think also I wanted to give a shout out to Paul Thomas Anderson, who actually didn't talk crap about the MCU and actually spoke positively about it, talking about how we live in a time where we need people to come back to the movie theater, and who's going to be able to do it? Like some indie film that, that nobody's really heard of, or is it going to be Spider-Man? Duh.
Yeah, Spider-Man. Yeah, for sure. I'm just glad we really got like an actual great Spider-Man movie, because I liked Homecoming and I liked, Far From Home too, but I think we're like really kind of like
we needed something like big.
Those were good films, but like we needed like just a kind of that feeling that we got with like Spider-Man, the original Spider-Man 2, where it's just like, oh my God, this is Spider-Man. This is because if you read Spider-Man comics, you're so emotionally invested, and I think we all got emotionally invested with this one. So I enjoyed it. I loved it. And I'm like super excited to see what they're going to be doing in the future. I'm super excited for this podcast, man. It's going to be dope.
Yeah, it's going to be great. Hopefully,
this is episode 1. Yeah, this is episode 1. We kick it off with Spider-Man No Way Home.
Exactly. This is just episode 1, guys. Please be sure to subscribe if you're listening to this on Spotify or Apple Podcasts. Make sure to follow. And if you are watching this on YouTube, make sure to subscribe and make sure to hit that like button and comment what you thought about Spider-Man No Way Home. If you have seen it, if you haven't seen it, I don't know why you watched this. But either way, we really do appreciate you guys taking the time to watch this. And, we're just 2 guys who really love this kind of stuff, and we just love talking about it. And we just kind of want to share our thoughts with everyone who is wanting to listen. But yeah, essentially, Jack, do you have any final words or anything?
No, I'm just super excited, and I'm looking forward to these future episodes, these future discussions, and yeah, I love discussing this type of stuff, man. I can
Yeah.
do it all day. So I've been like holding in for a week because I was just like, oh, no way home, no way home. And then like all my friends who still haven't seen it, like I have a friend, she still hasn't seen it. I'm like, dude, what are you doing with your life, man? Like, come on. Like,
I know you and I have been wanting to talk about it, but I'm like, no, we need to save it for the podcast.
yeah, we need to save it. Yeah, I've been trying to like so hard like to kind of like keep my energy in. So, but yeah, no, it was really great, and it's gonna be a great time.
But yeah, thank you guys so much for watching. I hope whoever's listening to this or watching this, I hope you're having a fantastic day, and I hope you have an even better week. And if you guys do want to, you know, wait for more episodes, we are going to have new episodes coming out. And make sure to follow our Instagram down below in the description. Hopefully, we'll get some more social media out there as well. But in the meanwhile, we have been Sam and Jack, and I hope you guys have a fantastic rest of your day. See y'all later.
Happy New Year.
Happy New Year.
What you gonna say? What you gonna say? Clock in now, finna do it my way. Little bit of hate never ruin my day. What you gonna say? What you gonna say? Yeah.